Hi, today we're going to be looking at this KitchenAid stand mixer. Now the unit does actually work apart from the knob here is missing, and you can't buy the knob, you've actually got to buy the whole lever assembly here, which I've already purchased. Now I bought this off eBay for £75 and I think it was an absolute bargain because I was looking for a broken one at first, and even a broken one without all of these attachments here sells on eBay for around about £60, and like I said, I paid £75 for all this, and the unit actually does work. Now this unit is, I think it's 34-year-old, believe it or not, and it's in really good condition. These things are actually built like a tank. I mean, you know, if you bought something in this day and age, like a food mixer, I wouldn't expect the last 34 years, no way. You know, I expect you to get 5 years out of it and then, you know, it'll be going in the bin. So what the plan is to do is we need to strip this thing down pretty much to the chassis. I'm going to re-grease it all because the grease inside is probably going to be 34-year-old as well, and then we'll put it back together. So it's going to get a bit of an overall service, and we're going to replace this lever here. So let's get into it. So I have had a look at a teardown video at one of these just to see exactly what needs to happen. So the first thing you need to do is remove this band here. So I'm just going to get a small screwdriver and just gently give that a bit of a tap. Right, so that's the first thing removed, and as you can see, it's quite a bit grubby in there, so we'll clean all that up as well. And you can also see just around about here all of the old, I don't know what it is, but yeah, not very nice. Right, so the next thing that we need to do is to remove the, there's a pin. Let's see if I can perhaps get it a bit better in shot. There we go. There's a small pin here that we need to remove, so I'm just going to hit that with a hammer and a punch. Right, so there's the pin out, and it's a little bit bent as well. I might actually need a new one of those because I've just noticed there's a bit of a split in it. So I think I might have to get a replacement pin for that. Right, the next thing we need to do is remove this gear arrangement here. So I'm going to try putting the screwdriver in the top here and gently levering down. Right, I think we might have to put a screwdriver either side on this. Well, that took a bit getting off, but as you can see, the yeah, it probably needs a bit of re-greasing in there as well. Right, so that's the first job done. So I'll just put this down to one side. So I've just spun the unit round there so you can see the label on the back there, and you can see any defabrication, so year of manufacture. 1989, so yeah, 34-year-old, coming up 35. So next I'm going to remove this back section here, which is held on with a screw at the top here, just a Phillips screw. So I'm going to remove that. And this is where the speed regulation is, and it's quite interesting. We'll have a look at that a bit later on, how that works. Then I'm just going to remove these two screws here, which hold on what's called the beauty band, which is the band that just goes around the edge of the mixer. So hopefully we should just need to pop that off as well. Yeah, look at that. Look at all the gunge in there as well. So yeah, 34 years worth of yeah, God knows what. Oh, look at that on the side of it. Yeah, hidden behind that band. Right. Oh, you can see the oil starting to come out of the gasket here. It's one of the reasons why I've purchased a new gasket here as well. So, like I said, we're going to have to strip all this completely down, take the gears out and everything. So, yeah. Right, so that's the beauty band taken off. Another nice feature that I like about this is they've even got it designed so you can service it. I mean, you know, it's like a lot of equipment these days, not a lot of it has got where you can actually take the carbon brushes out. I mean, this, you just literally undo those and then you can just pull the brushes out. There we go. And the brushes don't look too bad, there's still plenty on them. So we'll just pop that back in. I thought that was a nice little feature as well. Like I say, the equipment you buy these days, you know, don't have a lot of serviceability, it seems. Right, so the next thing that we need to do is remove this head from the actual stand, and that's held on by these 4 big bolts here, or big screws. So what I've got a ratchet here with a large Phillips head driver on there. So I'm just going to slacken them off a little bit first. So that's them all slackened off. Just remove some of these parts out of the way. I'm just going to put a towel down there so I've got a place to put it once I take it off, just so it doesn't get scratched. I'm just keeping pressure on the back of the unit here so the head part doesn't actually fall off. Just in case. Yeah, so they're quite big screws, these. So that's the 4 big screws removed, and that's the head separated from the base. Right, so the next thing I want to do is start removing these screws here. So there's 2 long ones at the back, 2 medium ones in the middle, and then there's 5 smaller ones around the outside here, so we'll remove those. Right, the next thing is to separate the top half of the housing from the bottom half. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get a screwdriver with a bit stuff around it, just so we don't mark the casing. Yeah. Right, so this is the top housing separate from the bottom. I just need to get this cable pushed through there like that. And there we go. So that's the grease that's in there and the gears. And this is the lever that needs changed here, and that's the gasket. So I'm going to remove the old gasket. So that's the old gasket removed. So we'll just dispose of that. So this is the speed regulation knob that needs changed, or lever, and it's just held in by one screw here. And it's quite interesting how this works. So we'll just swap this over and then we'll have a quick look at how it works. Right, so that's the old one off, and we'll just grab the new one. We'll just check that it's the same. Yep, that looks the same. Right, so that's that bit done. So what happens is with this, it might be a bit hard to see on camera, but we've got this metal, this plate here with these metal contacts in. And what happens is when you move this lever, you can see it adjusts the how far that plate is away. And what happens is we've got a little centrifugal clutch down here. A little thing there with two centrifugal weights on. Maybe a bit hard to see on the camera there. But this spins round, and the faster it spins, the more these weights move out. And once they get to a certain speed, it opens these contacts here, which I think there's a small circuit board up here, which is I think just basically a triac with a couple of capacitors. And what it does, it breaks the contact, switches the triac off, and thus drops the power to the motor. Once the motor slows down, the contacts close again, and it powers the motor up again. So it sort of constantly goes on and off like that sort of thing to regulate the speed. I wondered how the speed regulation works, but yeah, it's fairly simple once you understand it. Right, so what I want to do next is there's a cog at the front here, which we can take out, which is for attachments. It's you take this little cap off there, and you can plug an attachment into the front of the machine, something like I don't know, like a mincer or whatever. So I'll just put this to one side, and this cog should just pull out like so. And there's your square drive for plugging attachments in. So I'm going to put all these in a tub with some IPA and clean them all up. Oh, look at that. Right, I'll give this a dry off, and then we'll go on to the next ones. So I've got a teaspoon here, and I'm going to try and scoop out all of the old grease from in the bottom here. Now, one thing to be aware of is this motor shaft here. The end of it is extremely sharp, so that's why I'm not really putting my hands down in here, because I don't want to get bit off the thing. So I finished cleaning all of the old grease out of the top half of the gearbox there, and as you can see, it's all nice and clean. So now we're going to move on to the bottom half. Right, so I'm going to start by removing this section here, which looks like it's held on with 3 Phillips screws. So let's remove those. Right, so that's that section removed. Now, one thing I've just noticed, which is quite interesting, this this machine has a metal cog here, which when I looked on Amazon and whatever, you do get replacement cogs for these, but they're nylon ones. So, and the teeth and everything seem in really good condition. It's amazing to think how this is 36-year-old, and you know, everything's in such good condition. You know, just I think it just shows, you know, how things these days are just made to break and, you know, throw away and buy a new one, kind of disposable. So yeah, I'm really impressed with the build quality of this. Right, so I'm going to put that to one side for now, and we'll clean that up with IPA. And let's see how this comes out. I think I'm going to have to clean this up a bit with some blue roll first, I think. Right, that's a little bit better. Now, to get this cog off, what we do is we give this a quick tap, and that reveals this little pin here, and you can then knock that pin out. So I'll just find my little pin punch here. Right, so that's that one out. Let's put that to one side, and then this cog should just slide off the top. There we go. So we'll give that a clean up with IP as well. And then we'll clean all this bottom section down, and then it should just be a matter of putting it all back together. So I've finished cleaning all of the cogs. I've cleaned this bit up, and I've cleaned this main cog up. Now there is some very slight wear on this cog. I don't know if you can just see there on some of the teeth. There's just a, I mean, it's nothing much, but I mean, you know, it is 34-year-old, so, you know, I was expecting a little bit wear on it, and that's about all there is. So, yeah, I'm quite impressed with how well these cogs have stood up to the test of time. Now, the last thing I want to do, or on this part of the machine anyway, is I'm just going to remove this cog here, strip this bit down, and we'll re-grease this part up as well. This is the planetary bit which actually does the mixing. It runs on this cog round the outside there, so as this bit turns round, it makes this revolve, and that's how it mixes. So to remove this, it looks like we need some circlip pliers, and I just happen to have some of those. So I'm just going to put some circlip pliers on here, and we'll just remove this circlip, just like so, and then hopefully this should just slide off. So we'll give this cog a clean, and we'll clean this shaft as well, which is held in by a small pin here, which just comes out. Looks like I've got a couple of washers, and then this just slides out like so. So I'll give that a bit of a clean up, and then we'll start re-greasing it. Right, so I've got some of this food safe grease here. So I'm just going to put a little bit on this shaft first, and then feed it into here, like so. Then I'm just going to put a little bit around here. And then there was 2 washers went on this particular one. Just put a little bit more on. In the washer. Then there was this pin to go in, like so. Just grease all these teeth up. And then this cog has got like a line in here where this pin sits in, so I'll just get that aligned up, and there you go, it's aligned up there now. Alright, now we need to put the circlip back on if I can find it. There we go. Right, so that's that bit done. Right, we'll just put this to one side for now. And when I took this, when I cleaned this cog up, there was a washer stuck to the bottom of it like that, so we need to make sure that we put that back on as well. So let's start with this bit. I'm going to put some grease around these teeth on the planetary bit here. I think that should do for that. So this shaft went in that way because that went into the top of the unit, which is over there. You can't actually see this off camera, so I'm going to put a little bit of grease on this shaft first. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a tap just to, there we go. Then we'll have this washer that went on. just going to put a bit grease on the bottom of here first. Put that washer on. Put a bit on there for now. And then we need to get this cog back on this shaft. It's a bit tight. There we go. It might need a bit more gentle persuasion with this one. So I think there was a bit of a problem where the, I think there's maybe a couple little burrs on where the pin goes through. There we go, we're through. Right, so now we need to put the pin back in there. I just noticed this pin's a little bit bent there as well. I'm going to try and straighten that out a little bit. Ideally, I think we should have had 2 new pins for this, but obviously I didn't know what condition things were going to be like inside. It looks like this is jammed at one point, and it's obviously went like that and bent the pin. Right, I'll try and straighten this out in the vise, and I'll be back. Right, not perfect, but better than it was. Let's see if we can get this to go back in now, though. There we go. And that needs to sit in the groove that's in the bottom of this cog here. Right, we'll re-grease all this cog up now then. Right, so next I'm going to re-grease this part here. So I'm going to make sure I get some grease all the way around the back and in all of the teeth here. And I'm going to do the same on this top cog. Right, I think that'll do. Let's get some of this grease off my hand here. And then we're going to refit that down here. I might have to wiggle this a little bit until it gets lined up. And then it's held in with 3 Phillips screws, which are these ones here. Just make sure I get all 3 of them in first before I tighten any of them up. Right, so far so good. I'm going to put a bit more grease on this cog now, as it had a fair bit on when we took it apart, so I think something like that should do. Right, so I think we've pretty much finished with this bottom part now, and we'll move back onto the top part. Right, so on the top half of the unit we've got this cog to go back in, which is for the accessories. So I'm just going to put a bit grease on the shaft of it first, and then just slot it in. Like so. And then I'm going to put some grease on the teeth of it. I'm going to put some grease on the main motor. Now, be careful not to get bit off the end of it. As I said, it's fairly sharp. I'm just going to put a little bit in there. And there was a big dollop of it in this corner, so let's just add a bit in that corner as well. Something like that. Right, so hopefully we can now start to reassemble it. just put this bit over here for the moment. And we need to put the new gasket on. Right, I'm just going to put a little bit grease on this gasket just to hold it in place. And the thin side of the gasket goes to where this little gear tower thing is. Right, so that's the gasket in place. Let's move this cable out of the way. Let's move this along a bit so it's better in shot. Right, now we may have to turn this shaft slightly so the gears line up. So I'm just going to poke a screwdriver in here while turning it slightly. Right, and that's I think that's lined up there now. Just a bit gentle persuasion. Right, so we'll have the 5 short screws that look like that go around the front. Then we have the 2 middle screws that look like that. And then we'll have the 2 long screws that go at the back. Again, I'm not fully tightening these screws yet. I'm just tightening them just slightly so make sure everything goes together squarely. Right, so that's that part all back together, apart from the little cap that I took off. I'll just stick that back on the front. There we go. Right, now we need to put the planetary back on, but I might actually try and do that while it's on the bench, but I'm going to flip the unit over because I don't want to break the lever that we've just put on. It'll lie flat on this side, so I'm just going to put a little bit more grease just on these couple of washers here. There's just 2 little washers here. So I'm just going to put a bit of grease either side of those. And then hopefully, if I get this, say, straight up and down, like so. I need to get these this cog in line. Right, got some metal shavings coming out here, which I don't think seems quite right. Right, so after a bit of persuasion, I managed to get that lined up. So you can see it goes all the way through now. So now I need to put this pin back in. Right, so that's that pretty much back together now, apart from the beauty band to go on and the back part. But I think I'm just going to have a quick look at the stand, because the stand seemed to be a little bit stiff to move up and down. So I'm just going to put this to one side for the moment, have a look at the stand, and then we'll finish reassembling it. So I've removed the stand mechanism from the base plate, and it was just held on with 4 of these big screws, are the same as the actual mixer. The mixer head on the top of it, same size screws. And as you can see, it's quite grubby in there, so we'll give that a clean up in a moment. But this part didn't seem to be sliding up and down very good when you move the handle. It seemed to be a little bit stiff, like, you know, the old grease. So I'm just going to remove these couple of screws here. And hopefully this should just slide off and yeah, so I think this needs all a bit of a clean up as well. Right, so I'll just get some IPA and we'll give this a bit of a clean up. Right, the cleaning is complete. And that's a lot better. And I've slightly greased these two runners here just so it's a little bit smoother. I'm not sure whether you're supposed to or not, but yeah, that moves a lot smoother now than what it did. Right, now we're going to try and get this plate lined up with these holes. The only problem is it's on a little bit of a spring, so that's a bit better. Right, I'll get this put back on the stand then. Right, so I've got the stand back together. Now we need to put the head back onto the stand. That's quite heavy, so there's two little metal pegs that it slots into, and then we need to get a couple of these screws in so it doesn't drop off. So I'm just going to put these in hand tight first and then tighten them up with my little ratchet with the Phillips screwdriver end on it. Now you may be wondering why a stand mixer. Well, I've actually started doing a bit home baking, and there's a couple of channels that I've came across. One of them's a guy called John Kirkwood, he's from Sunderland, which is near where I used to live. He's got a similar accent to me, and he's quite good at doing baking and things like that. So and he uses one of these. And then there was another channel that I came across when I was baking some cakes called Cupcake Gemma. And both of these are either professionals or retired professionals. And both of these people were using this same mixer. So I thought, oh, right, okay, they must be good then. So that's why I ended up looking for one and getting one. Right, so that's the head unit back on. We need to put this ring back on now, which should just tap into place with the just like so. And then we have this beauty band, as it's called, to go back on. And that's just held on with the two screws at the back. Like so. Now one thing that we may need to do is check the speed of the unit. So I'm going to switch it off, we'll plug it in, and then we'll check the speed and see if it needs adjusting. Right, so I've got the machine plugged in and we're just going to check the speed on it now. Now on speed 1, we should get about 1 revolution a second. So I've got my stopwatch here, and I'm going to set that once the shaft here hits my finger. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that hit my finger 10 times, but only 6 seconds has elapsed. So the machine's actually running too fast. It's turning more than once a second. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to unplug it a second. I'm going to slacken these 2 nuts off, which are just here and here, and then we'll adjust the speed. So I've just slackened those 2 nuts here. And to slow the machine down, we need to screw these 2 screws in a bit. So we'll switch it on. And you can hear the audio change there, so 1. I've adjusted the screws a bit more, and we'll just give this a go now then. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, that's almost right. I think that'll probably do, to be quite honest with you. Right, now we need to adjust speed 6, which is done with the bottom screw, so I'll switch it off. We'll lock those 2 screws off at the top now, because they're about in the right position, and then we'll adjust the bottom. So on speed 6, we're aiming for 15 revolutions in 5 seconds. So if I go to speed 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Right, so it took just over 5 seconds for 15, so I think that's probably accurate enough. Right, I'll just unplug it again and then we'll get the back covers on. Right, so I've unplugged the machine so it's safe to work on again. And this back cover, it's just got 2 little hooks there that just hook in place. And then there's just the final screw to go in the top, and then that's all back together. And I think we'll give it a proper test after this. Right, I've cleaned the machine down with IPA, and it looks almost brand new. So I've got some ingredients in the bowl, and I'm going to have a go at trying to make some tear and share garlic bread, which is a recipe on John Kirkwood's YouTube page. So I've got the ingredients in. We'll just raise the bowl up with this lever here, and then we need to put it on the slowest speed. Seems to be happily mixing away there, so we'll leave that for a few minutes and then we'll come back to it. It's been going for about 10 minutes now, and we've got a nice ball of dough. Right, so this is my dough there, already in the pan. It's ready to go in the oven. So we'll pop that in the oven and then we'll see what it comes out like. Right, so I've just taken the bread out of the oven there, and yeah, it's came out really well. I'm quite pleased with that. So yeah, so that's the first thing that I've baked, or the first thing that I've made with the stand mixer. Right then, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like it, please subscribe. Any comments or questions, please leave it in the comment section below. And as always, have a great day. Thanks for watching.